The following message is transmitted at the request of the D.C. Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency. A large explosion has occurred near the United States Capitol building. The origin of this explosion is currently unknown. Additional information will be broadcast as it becomes available. All residents of the District of Columbia and surrounding areas are advised to remain calm and stay indoors. Stay tuned to local media for further updates. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This is not a test. FEMA has confirmed a nuclear detonation at the United States Capitol building in Washington. At this time, the status of President Clinton and other government officials is unknown. Radioactive fallout from the explosion is expected to affect the following counties within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Northwestern Prince George's County, southeastern Montgomery County, southern Howard County, extreme northwestern Anne Arundel County, southern Baltimore County, the city of Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. All persons in the affected areas should shelter in place immediately. Fallout is a byproduct of nuclear weapons, and can lead to sickness and death within minutes of exposure. Move to a basement or interior room on the lowest level of a sturdy building. Stay away from windows, doors and outside walls. Put as much space between you and the We interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. Important information will follow. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast stations and cable systems shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is WUSA. We will continue to serve the Washington, D.C. area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Washington, D.C. area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast stations and cable systems shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is WUSA. We will continue to serve the Washington, D.C. area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Washington, D.C. area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use.
Please stand by for a message from the Office of the President.
Good evening. The past few moments have been among the most hectic in our nation's history, and after the proverbial dust has settled, the grim reality of the situation has become apparent. Shortly after 2100 local time, a crude nuclear explosion destroyed the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Early reports are unreliable, but we believe these attacks were perpetrated by the American Patriot League. We are currently unable to report on the whereabouts of President Clinton, Vice President Kaine, or other cabinet members, although all are currently presumed dead. A few minutes ago, Secretary of Commerce Elizabeth Warren was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States of America. In order to help law enforcement and Homeland Security prevent further attacks, President Warren has ordered the suspension of civil liberties across all U.S. states and territories. This is not an ideal situation, but it is our only option to restore order and to stop the APL. Ladies and gentlemen, this day will go down as the darkest in our nation's history. But I speak on behalf of this great country when I promise you, as bad as it seems right now, all will be well in the end. Thank you, and good night.
This concludes operations under the emergency alert system. All broadcast stations and cable systems may now resume regular programming. This concludes operations under the emergency alert system. All broadcast stations and cable systems may now resume regular programming. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. In light of the terrorist attack in Washington, President Elizabeth Warren has declared a state of martial law to exist across the United States. During this period, the United States military will maintain absolute control over all government and law enforcement affairs. All civil rights and liberties as defined in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights are considered null and void. All citizens are advised to stay in their homes and obey all instructions from military officials and law enforcement. Failure to comply may result in detainment or execution. Stay tuned to local media for further updates. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Bismarck Police Department. Several terrorists have taken hostages inside the North Dakota state capitol. At this time, the motives of these individuals are unknown, although they are believed to be affiliated with the American Patriot League. All persons in this area are advised to stay away from the state capitol and stand by for further.
Is it working? Okay. Good morning, North Dakota. Most of you probably have no idea who I am, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Oswald. I am the leader of the North Dakota chapter of the American Patriot League. And, as you may have guessed, we now have control over the North Dakota state capitol. Now, that was the easy part. Now comes the hard part. Now we must take over North Dakota. At this time, I am advising all members of the APL to deploy immediately. As for the rest of you, you should be prepared to pledge allegiance to the flag of the American Patriot League. If you refuse to comply, well, you can probably figure out what'll happen. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. God bless you, and God bless the new America.
Can't you talk?